This presentation forms part of a video training course under the title of Photoshop for Photographers. The subject here is Adobe's Bridge, where we're going to take a quick look at what we have and set up our own personal workspace. Bridge is so called because that's the role it plays between all of the other Adobe programs you may have, but it also does the same thing with most other programs too. For example, it can open all types of images along with videos, Word documents, PDFs and many other file types. Just select them and double click. At the top left here, just for this particular demonstration, I've got a few JPEG images. If I just double click the image, it'll open up directly into Photoshop. Further down the screen I've got some raw files, so if I select one of those and double click, Bridge will open this, but of course Photoshop will recognize that this is a raw file and intercept it with Adobe Camera Raw. But if we look further along, we can see there's a couple of videos here, an AVI and an MP4, and once again if I just select the MP4 and double click, it will open up and play. Even a piece of music, an MP3, double click, and as you can hear, it plays as normal. The default screen is the Essentials screen, which is the one we have open here. This screen and the others alongside it are Adobe's suggestions for us. We pick the screen that best suits what we're doing. These are the options up at the top middle right: film strip, output, metadata, keywords, and as you can see we can select them quickly and easily, and if we wish return back to Essentials. A quick look around the Essentials screen tells us that we do have quite a few options here, and I'm going to suggest that we may not need all of these options at the moment, and in fact some we may never need. So it may be a good idea if we set up and save our own personal screen, one where we can have on screen the options we need right now, and we can hide away those that we don't. Now we can do this by going to the screen options, and over to the right we've got a little drop down arrow, and from within this we need to set up a new workspace. Give this a name. I usually settle on my own name, and click Save. Nothing happens, but you will see a new screen has appeared at the top of the window here. Now what we can do is to change Barry's from the setup that it's taken from Essentials, and we can set it up just how we like it. So let's make a start up at the top left. I never use the favorites in Bridge, so I'm going to select the tab, click and drag, and I can drag it down to the bottom right and drop it alongside metadata and keywords. I do use metadata, so I'm going to pick that tab up and put it in place of the favorites. That way I can look for my images, but if I want to see the data in an image, I can select the image, look at the metadata and review it. We're going to come back and look at the filters a little bit later on, but just for the moment I'm going to pick up that tab and move that to the right too. We can always retrieve these at any stage. Coming back to the bottom left, collections we're going to look at in isolation a little bit later on, but you'll notice a little icon just above the bar here which enables me to drag this down to reveal more of the file tree, and this is probably more important when we're in the folders view. Over on the right hand side now, most of these I don't need publish and I don't need preview, so I can go to this upright bar and I can shut that down, and then down at the bottom right I can make my thumbnails a more respectable size. And there we have our own personal screen set up, but of course we can bring back anything in the future within a few seconds. We can move from screen to screen and come back with just a click, but there is a shortcut key, Control F1, will always bring you back to your own personal screen. There are one or two view options down at the extreme bottom right, but they're not really very significant. Just click on each of those and you can see exactly what they're going to give you. But I'll return to the way I like to view my thumbnails, which is in my own personal screen. The menu options such as File, Edit, View at the top left, they largely replicate options that we have elsewhere, and I think we're going to cover most of those gradually in our videos. There are one or two items we can look at in the icon bar just here, starting with the arrows here. If I'd been in a previous screen to the bridge demo I'm currently viewing, I can use these to jump back to the previous and the one before that, and of course back again if I wish. That can be quite useful, especially when we're copying files. The next option is this drop down arrow, which enables us to jump to parent files or favorites, but I tend to do the navigation around bridge just using the file tree here. The next option, as I click to reveal it, shows all of the recent files, and you can see them here, and we also get the opportunity to clear them, either files or folders. The next option is a little tiny boomerang, and it says in the tooltip return to Adobe Photoshop. Now I've just opened up a picture into Photoshop, but if I highlighted a picture here and hit the boomerang, it will not open that particular file. All the boomerang does is to take us back into Photoshop, and as you can see, it still has the image I opened up just before I clicked the boomerang. The next option assists us to get images from our camera or card reader. We're going to look at this in isolation a little bit later on, and also this option too, which is the refine or review mode, so we'll be coming back to these two. The next one enables us to open an image into Camera Raw. RAW files will automatically open into Camera Raw, but if we were working on a JPEG, we can still take advantage of the RAW settings. So if I wanted to just take that into RAW and give it a little tweak, I can highlight the image and I can click the icon here, and there's the image opened up in Camera Raw. The next two options I think are almost becoming obsolete, because we can rotate images. If you look at the thumbnail I've got highlighted, and we can do that either way, but these days that's largely done within the software in our cameras. Now we do have quite a number of preferences within Bridge, but I'd just like to look at one of them here. It's the one that determines what we see under the file name of each of the thumbnails we view. As you can see here, I've got the size of the image in pixels, I've got the size in megabyte, and I've also got the exposure data. Now we'll find this by going to our edit menu, preferences, and thumbnails. There you can see the options. I've chosen exposure, dimensions and size, but if I just drop down this window here, you can see all of the other options you could choose from. And if I just selected one of those, I'll do it just to demonstrate it. Let's take the focal length. It automatically ticks, click OK, and that's been added to the data beneath each thumbnail. I know some people do get just a little worried about the vast number of preferences in modern software, but remember, they are just preferences. But what I would say is, if in doubt, leave them alone. You can always revisit them later. If you've enjoyed this video, and particularly if you're watching on YouTube, check out the links below to our Photoshop for Photographers video course. There are many videos like this which you can view and download to evaluate the video quality and my teaching style.